Hello and welcome back to Like Maria. Today I'm going to be looking at Shelley's poem Ozymandias. We're going to look at the basic overview of the content and the structure of this poem. So today, when you finish this video, you'll be able to solve the problem of Ozymandias just like Maria. So first of all, this poem is about a strong ruler, Ozymandias, who we know today as Ramses II. Shelley describes being told about this king by a traveller who has come back from the Egyptian desert and describes to Shelley the story of finding a ruined statue in the sand. Shelley is probably actually reading this in an old history book, but he pretends that he's been told a story by a traveller. As we read the poem, Shelley tells us the story as the traveller told him, and we see the things that the traveller describes. These are two huge legs of stone, a shattered visage or face, without a body, and a little way off in the sand, a pedestal with a boastful inscription on it. The end of the poem describes nothing surrounding the statue except the vast desert sands that go as far as the eye can see. Now, this poem is a sonnet, and a sonnet is usually written in praise of a beautiful face, mostly that of a beautiful woman that the poet is in love with. You might look at Shakespeare for an example of this. However, this sonnet describes a cruel face and a cruel person. This person is made of stone. It is half sunk in the sand. It is shattered. It has a frown, a wrinkled lip, and a sneer of cold command. So all these descriptions tell us that this king was a cruel ruler who liked to rule with fear. We see that the only thing really preserved from this king is his voice. And this is on the inscription on the pedestal in the second part of the sonnet. The king's voice says, "My name is Ozymandias, king of kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair." And these words confirm that he is a boastful, cruel king who wants everybody to look on him and be scared. Shelley here is describing the cruel power of a king whose kingdom has now gone and decayed. Like his statue, his kingdom is broken and lies in the desert. He is making the point that even the most powerful of kings and rulers come to their demise. Their empires decay and their power amounts to nothing but a broken statue and some sand. The sonnet structure helps us understand this poem. We have 8 lines, an octave, followed by 6 lines, a sestet. And I would suggest that in the first 8 lines, the description of the statue is the key focus. In the second part, the 6 lines or the sestet, the pedestal and the words of the king are the focus. And just as the statue has been broken away from the pedestal, here the 8 lines are separate from the 6 lines. The overall structure of this sonnet can be divided into how we learn about the material that Shelley is talking about. He quotes the traveller, or possibly the book that he is reading. We then hear the words of the traveller describing the broken statue in the sand and reflecting on the cruelty that can be seen in the face of this King Ramses, or Ozymandias as he calls himself. The traveller then talks a little bit about the sculptor that made us understand the cruelty of this king, and then tells us the actual words of this king. So through the centuries, this voice of Ozymandias is still present and able to speak to us, suggesting that Statues may crumble, but words are even more powerful than kings or pieces of art. The very end of the poem, we get the suggestion that the king and his kingdom have decayed, and all that is left is boundless and bare. The lone and level sands stretch far away, so there is nothing left of the kingdom surrounding this once powerful king. So I hope that today you've got a better understanding of what Shelley was trying to communicate in his poem Ozymandias, and that you can read it just like Maria.